while. We've been off air. COVID-19 has been brutal to everyone, and we wish everyone out there the best. Thanks for sticking with us. We've got a huge fight coming up this weekend, so we're going to do a wage rage so you can make lots of money off of this guy to my right, Scotty ASP Pyatt. Scotty, how are you doing, buddy? Nice to see you again.
You too, man. You too. Best to you and your family and to our subscribers and our viewers. Been a long time, but boy, what a great one to get back into. I mean, speaking of getting back into, Vasily Lomachenko is what we're talking about here. Teofimo Lopez. But when you say get back into, that's a little deeper for you and I, Chad. That goes getting you back into boxing. You know,
Correct.
that goes, you know, us getting back into this podcast. Lomachenko is, in my estimate, pound for pound champion right now. He may be the greatest boxer alive, and let's see where we at the end of this career. But this fight, some people in the boxing world are calling it a 50-50. The odds makers have it a little better. Teofimo Lopez is a plus 350. Loma is a favorite at negative 440. I think the true odds are a little wider than that. I think these are because people are putting money on Teofimo. This is not a 50-50 fight. We'll get more into it. Two great competitors, two great warriors. We're going to call 3 fights for you here, short and sweet. 2 of them you should bet on or could bet on after you like what I have to say about it. Some are more secure than others. Some of them have really good paydays. So let's get into that, Chad.
Yeah, okay, so let's go ahead and get into our first dog watch, Scotty. Hit the undercard, and I'll let you take it from here. You're the expert. Tell us about it.
Hey, you know, we got to really talk about Edward Berlanga. This guy is on a tear. 14-0, 14 first-round knockouts. If you add up 3 minutes, you know, in your 14 rounds, you get 42 minutes. Is how many minutes are in 14 rounds? Is 42 minutes. So 21 minutes would be the halfway point. I got the old calculator out and added it up. He's at 20.9 minutes. So he has fought less than 7 rounds in 14 fights. This guy is knocking people out.
This guy has not been in the ring 30 minutes. So that begs the question. Is he a paper tiger and he's going to get out there and get hit by somebody and get rolled through? What's going to happen? What are you thinking?
Yeah, the answer is that it's probably somewhere in the middle. Look, he's been propped up to an extent because if you look at most of his opponents had some knockouts. For example, he just recently fought Gregory Varju. Now, Gregory is 7-9. All 9 of his losses are knockouts. So this is a guy that obviously gets knocked out when he loses. If he doesn't get knocked out, he hasn't lost. So he gets knocked out, right? Also, you know, if you look at his amateur record, Berlanga's amateur record, he was only 23-12, and he only knocked 2 guys out, right? So super middleweight, he's not a heavyweight. It's not like you just changed the gloves and took off the headgear. He's not a heavyweight, right? So, yes, I think there is something to the fact that if you can get past that first round with this guy, sort of that Mike Tyson thing, he was knocking everybody out. How did you beat him? You got past the first or second round, and you were the big guy out, you know? So the guy that's going to try and do that now is Linnell. Also, Linnell K.O. Bellows. His nickname's K.O. The KO King is Berlanga's nickname. So KO versus KO. Now,
Okay.
Linnell is 25 and 3 draws, 13 knockouts in that. He's got not only the 3 draws, but he has 4 more fights that are either majority or split decisions. So this is a guy that can make a fight, you know, clean and dirty and hard to judge, and he can hold his own, right? He's never been knocked out. He's the money team fighter over there with Mayweather. His last fight, he did demolish Malcolm Jones, who was 15-1. But keep in mind, Bellows was knocked down by a hook in the second round by Jones. Now, he got up. It wasn't even a 2 count. He hit the ground. He popped right back up. So he can be knocked down. He's got a great chin. Is Berlanga a much harder hitter? Malcolm Jones, probably. But does Bellows have what it takes? If he can maintain into that second and third round, he's a plus 1,400, Chad.
Wow.
Plus 1,400. So it's only an 8-round fight, right? So maybe he gets knocked down by Berlanga in the first, but he stands back up. And then we know Berlanga is not a great boxer at 23-12 in the amateurs. maybe you can outpoint this guy for 5 out of the 8 rounds. And if you did get knocked down for a 10-8 round in the first, you still come out with like a draw or a 1-point win against him.
Yeah.
You know, nobody's been able to make it past that first round. If they do, does Berlanga have the endurance? Does he have the boxing skill to win on points? If Bellows has an iron chin, look, my $10 bet makes me $140. My $100 bet makes me $1,400. So this is a risk that I'm personally going to put $10 on it. I'm willing to waste $10, risk $10. I never waste it at a chance at 140. You know, this is what I call a smart bet. It's not a bet I'm guaranteed to win, but it's a smart bet because Berlanga's unproven against good talent. Bellows is proven against good talent. Something has to give.
Okay. Okay, great. So we move on to our second undercard fight, and it's also a dog watch. Not quite the odds, right? But go into that one now, Scotty.
This is Alex Saucedo. Help me out on that one.
I managed a guy one time named Alex Saucedo. Not the same guy, but he went by Saucedo. So I don't know for sure, but yeah, let's say Saucedo.
This guy's a young guy, 26 years old. He is getting better. He's got some big fight experience. He fought Maurice Hooker for the WBO world title. Okay. A TKO in the 7th. Not actually knocked out, but a TKO in the 7th. He does have some right eye issues, Alex does. Saucedo's right eye, whether it's a headbutt or a punch, when I was watching film of this guy, I saw his right eye bleed a lot. So keep that in mind.
So maybe heavy scar tissue on the right eye?
It probably does, and it just pops right open, I'm guessing. Arnold Barboza Jr. is his opponent. 24-0, 10 knockouts. Alex, by the way, is 30-1. He only lost to Maurice Hooker in a world title fight. So he's 30-1 with 19 knockouts, right? So
you can't be terrible at that.
No, and Barboza's 24-0 with 10 knockouts. Not a great knockout ratio. But Arnold Barboza Jr. at 24-0, his first 4 opponents had a combined wins of 0. His first 4 opponents did not won a fight. Okay.
Okay.
His best win, you might say, is over Mike Alvarado, and I like Alvarado, but Alvarado is nearly 40 years old, and he had lost 4 or 5 fights in a row at that point. His record was on the decline. His health, he's not the fighter he used to be. So you beat an older Mike Alvarado. I'm not all that impressed with Barboza as far as who he's been able to beat thus far. Now, he's good enough for me to predict Barboza Jr. by a decision if you're holding my feet to the fire. But I like the plus 175 on Saucedo.
Okay. So you feel like Saucedo's going to pull this off? Do you have an idea on what you think Saucedo's going to pull off?
As far as the method of victory?
Yeah.
From what I see, he is both a good boxer and quite a bit of power. Again, at 30 victories, 19 of them coming by knockout. You're at a 64% knockout rate at something like that. It's not a bad knockout rate. It's far superior to Barboza's knockout rate, and he's fought far superior opponents. So Barboza's knockout rate, even at 10 knockouts for 24 victories, isn't even, it ought to be better than that because he was really fighting, untested folks early on that have gone on losing records since then. So a lot of research put into this one, folks. That's why I had a plus 175. It's not as high as the plus 1400 we just mentioned to you, but I do feel like this is a very live, almost dog pick. I'm almost picking him because I think Barboza is just bit off a little more than he can chew at this point. Okay. Yeah.
And just real quickly to go over the numbers and what statistically the analysis is for winning on our first dog watch. Run through that 1400 real quick. I like the way that you had stated that last night.
Well, so your plus 1400 means that they are an underdog. So you're getting positive money back, plus 1400. Yeah. So in America, we base it off a $100 bet. So your $100 bet would give you your $100 plus 1400. So you would get 1,500 back. We always base it off of that. If you look at European odds, they're gonna do 15 to 1. They're just gonna have the slash. They're gonna do 15 to 1 or 14 to 1. Your one gets you 14. It's the same as 1,400, but they base it off that $1. $1 against $14 for a total of $15.
Right.
1 against 14. So that's how you can tell. In European, it's just 14 to 1. And then in American, it's plus 1,400. Ours are based off $100. Theirs are based off $1. You add a couple of decimal points, and it's the exact same. It's just a matter of we add the 2 zeros and they don't. So there's your. So at a plus 175 in this particular fight, your 100 would be added to 175. You would get 275 back if Saucedo wins.
Yeah. Now go through the odds real quickly. The 1,400. How many times are you likely to win this bet? In other words, I think that's an interesting statistic for people to understand if they're trying to start to get into betting. And since betting is now legal in the state of Indiana, people really ought to be jumping on this because they can make a lot of money at your over 98
all our listeners and subscribers. Both here in Indiana, but I know we have folks listening. Out in California, and I've got friends in Florida. Most of these states have now legalized betting. So yes, what you want to consider a good bet is a research bet, a bet that you feel good about. At a plus 1,400, what they're saying is if Berlanga fights Bellows 14 times, Bellows is going to win one of those fights, right? So if I am suggesting to the listeners and the viewers to take a plus 1,400, yes, I want them to win every one, but that's not going to happen. What I want them to understand is you can listen to me 14 times, and as long as we win one out of that 14, you don't lose a dime.
Yeah.
If we win 2 out of 14, you double your money, right? 3 out of 14, you've tripled your money. So it's a good bet when you place the bet. It's not a good bet when it pays or when it loses. It's a good bet when you place the bet. In fact, you can make a bad bet that pays you, and you really don't want to because it sets up a whole problem at that point,
Right.
I'd rather have a good bet lose than a bad bet win. Over the long run, I'm going to make more money making good bets. So if you think the guy can beat him just once out of 14 times, and Linnell K.O. Bellows never been knocked out, he's fought some good folks. He's a Floyd Money Mayweather fighter. He's been training with him. He's been working on some different things with him. He's a sleeper. 1 in 14 times, he's going to surprise Berlanga. This is a good bet. He might not win, but it's a good bet. He'd win 1 in 5 times in my estimation instead of 1 in 14.
And that's why we call ASP the boxing analyst, because he can come up with statistical variables that can actually help you understand this as well and make more money. So, Scotty, let's go on to the big one. And we'll wrap this up, but I'm super excited about this. I haven't been really excited about a boxing match all year. It's been so tough with the COVID and everything and all the restrictions, and it looks so weird and it feels flat and it doesn't feel good. This is going to feel great. This is going to be the show that everybody wants to see. This is the match. This is the bout.
And I want to give a shout out to ESPN, Bob Arum. Look, this is a pay-per-view type of fight. This is the fight of the year. People were talking about the most anticipated fight of the year is either this, except for the fact that Fury is going to fight Wilder. As of 2 days ago, the Fury Wilder fight is off. They're not fighting. They missed the deadline. Fury was willing to fight. Wilder missed the deadline. That's a whole nother show we can talk about. But they missed the deadline to make the fight for December. Fury's going to fight somebody else December 5th and get ready to fight Joshua after he beats Hubert Pulev. Now, that's when I say he beats, this is the managers talking, not me. This is the plan that they have. So, now, by default, and I would have made the argument regardless, except I do really love both Tyson and that Wilder matchup is great. But to me, this is the most anticipated fight of the year. Now, boxing fans ought to know. What's great about it is not, the casual fans might not know about Lomachenko. I mean, this is only his 15th professional fight. Yes, he was 297-1 in the amateurs, and he won 2 gold medals. You know what I mean? But these are 2 superstars right here getting ready to fight. And the beautiful thing of it is, it's like Grandpa and I sitting around watch Wild World of Sports, Sugar Ray Leonard, Marvelous Marvin Hagler fighting, Boom Boom Mancini, these type of guys fighting for free on a Saturday, sitting with my grandfather. I want to thank Bob Arum and ESPN for giving me that feeling, that traditional, that my heritage. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
So instead of pay-per-view, ESPN has stepped up and they bought this fight, and they're going to put it on prime time. The main event starts at 10 o'clock. ESPN. It's on ESPN Plus. It's on free ESPN. The regular ESPN with all your cable and your streaming services. 7:30 is the prelims, but 10 o'clock is the big one. I want to throw something out there too. Wage Rage, Cage Rage, a lot of MMA and UFC on the other side of the aisle with you and Miguel and whatnot. Brian Ortega and the Korean Zombie fight, and they're not walking to the ring until Lomachenko's fight is over. So you can watch it all. It's an earlier fight. ESPN has that 2-hour time frame where they're over at midnight. UFC main events usually don't start till 12 or 12:30.
Yeah.
And that's what it's going to be. So you get to watch it all.
And really, let's face it. How much respect does that give Lomachenko as being the man? When the UFC goes, we don't want to try to compete with that. We'll just wait until they're done and then we'll walk out. Now, I mean, I know there are time changes and everything else. And Ortega shaved his head at weigh-ins this morning, so that's pretty interesting. There's some great stuff there. It's a big story, and there's a lot of big things happening in fights. Starting from till the end of the year. They just had the McGregor fight so I mean, there's a lot of really cool things happening. You got Khabib coming up at some point pretty soon.
Next week, I think. If I'm not mistaken, it's next week.
Yeah. So we've got all these great fights coming up, and bang, Lomachenko is dropped in our laps for the undisputed WBO, WBC, WBA, and
IBF.
That's undisputed. When you own all 4 belts, you're undisputed. You are the king of kings. And I'm super excited.
That's live, in my opinion. Now let's give Teofimo what he deserves, which is a lot of respect. I think he's a future champion. I don't think.
Do you think they're putting him in too early at 23?
Yes, I think his dad has written a check that he cannot cash.
Gotcha.
I think getting off that elevator in the hotel and verbally accosting or assaulting Lomachenko has gotten him in hot water. Lomachenko is from the Ukraine, and there's a lot of that. Without getting too much into look, there's a lot of underworld stuff there. There's a lot of tough guy stuff there. There's a lot of stuff settled without police being involved there, you see. And so when Lomachenko hears some of the stuff that's been said, he's like, listen, you don't say that type of stuff in my country, because if you do, someone's coming to your house.
Right, right.
What's going down? So he's been a respectful guy, and he doesn't really talk that type of trash. I mean, the personal type stuff as much. So I do think Lomachenko is going to hit Lopez in the gut and coil him over, and he's going to look over at Lopez Sr. with that little wink, like, look what you got your boy into.
Right, right.
I would have just whooped him.
Right, I would have really put it on him.
Now I'm going to hurt him. Now I'm going to hurt him. Loma's going to hurt him.
Now I'm going to drag this out. Okay, so what's your pick? How long do you think this is going to take? I've seen anywhere from 6 to 8 rounds, kind of in that area.
I mean, I like what you're saying there. Look, first off, let me say Lopez is a great fighter. He's 15-0 with 12 knockouts. He's got power in both hands. He can move okay. He doesn't have the footwork that Loma has, which is key to this fight. His first 9 fights were against unimpressive competition, though, and that's being kind. His first 9 fights out of this 15 just weren't great guys. The last 6 have been what you would call worthy opponents. Lopez was pretty dominant against Mason Menard. He took a world title from Richard Comey. But having said all that, Lomachenko is the guy who's made 4 world level guys, titleist, a double gold medal in Guillermo Rigondeaux, much bigger guy, the Jamaican fella, Walters. 4 in a row have quit in the corner against Lomachenko because they're literally the CompuStat, the boxing CompuStat show that some guys don't hit Lomachenko in a round, or some guys hit him once or twice in a round, versus 46, 48 smacks upside your head and you can hit him once. You kind of get, he takes your soul. He just takes your soul and puts it in a box and won't give it back, and you quit.
Yeah, I mean, he's out there. He's collecting heads, that's for sure. And he's collecting heads with a lot of body shots. His defense is something that's almost otherworldly.
After 125, let's not forget what he's doing.
I heard him,
brother. You know, he's fighting 135 now because nobody at 130 would fight him anymore. So he had to come up to 135 and fight guys that are 150, like Lopez. Cut that weight to get down to 135, where Loma is adding weight to challenge himself. So he's already fighting higher than he needs to. I mean, he could have been completely dominant if he stayed at featherweight, sure. But to move up to lightweight where he really shouldn't be and still be completely dominant, yeah, he was knocked down once by Jorge Linares. But he tore his rotator cuff in that fight.
Yeah.
80% around on his right dominant hand in the second round. Had to fight into the 10th round, 8th round maybe, before he uses his left hand to knock Linares out. So this guy can adjust and work through pain and injuries, and it's more than pain; it's an injury at that point. He had surgery on that rotator cuff. At any rate, I think Teofimo is a lion and a warrior. I don't think he would ever consider quitting going into this fight. I think he will consider quitting between the 6th and the 10th round. I have not found those odds, but if those odds are plus 3,000, plus 10,000, I'm all over it. You know what I mean? There are good odds on him quitting on the stool. Even if the whole fight, if you could get plus 2,500 to 4,500 on him retiring at any point in the fight, then those are great odds. But if you can narrow it down to 6 through 10 and get something ridiculous, like a 50 to 1 bet plus 50,000 or something like that, so your $1 makes you $50, your $100 makes you 50,000, your 100 makes you 50,000. Let me say that again. You see what I'm saying? 50 to 1 is how that works. So it's incredible. It's just incredible numbers to even think about.
So basically, if the viewer can find a way to find a bet that's worthy on this, make the bet. But there's really not any need to bet on the fight itself, do you believe, with the odds?
No, I mean, look, if you're a big Lopez fan,
bet against him, right?
Hey, look, you can look back. Not every fight we call is right. We try and put you in the right direction. We got 13, our first 13 dog picks, they won. The underdog that we called won. That's a dog pick, not a dog watch. We told you they were going to win, and they did. So, yeah, and I picked Derek Chisora for a 4th-round knockout, and we all bet that, So if you want to go against that sort of research and that sort of thing, and you know what? Lopez can punch. Lopez can punch.
Hard.
If you want to go against that and bet Lopez at a plus 350, I won't be mad at you. You know what I mean? I don't think it's a great bet. I wouldn't be mad at somebody for doing that. Plus 350 is a decent chunk for a young lion like this that has a chance at it. I wouldn't do it.
But it's really the more rare bets that we're looking for. If you can find somebody to say, hey, we're betting that this guy's not going to come off the stool in the 7th round.
Right.
That's a completely different bet, and 50-1 kind of bet. So, well, anyways, hey Scotty, it's been great talking with you again. I'm super excited about this. I know you are as well. Were you able to get a movie theater for this one, or are you just going to do it in your backyard?
So yeah, we got a buddy of mine. What up, Scott? He's built a great big screen, bigger than his garage, taller than his garage. I have a projector. We've set up over there a few times. This being a free fight, it's great. We can set up and project it right off the. So we do that. We project it. We play a little cards. We're gonna have a 4-pound brisket, a 4-pound pork loin. Some sides, some fixings. So have a good
thinking about it.
Yeah, we're gonna have a big, and it is fun. I mean, the boxers are taller than you at that point. You can literally walk up to the garage. It's a screen at this point in front of the garage. But you can literally walk up there and kind of trade punches with these guys. Shadow box, if you will. The most truest form of shadow boxing. We watched Indianapolis 500 the same way. And you could lay down in front of the screen, and when they gave they give the point of view shot from inside the cockpit, you could just get up there and you felt like you were right on the track, man. So we're loving that. I know Corona has brought a lot of bad things for people. Some of the ways that people are dealing with it kind of show some creativity in a way to get back together with friends and family. That we haven't been able to do. This is a sort of safer way to do it. We're outside, social distancing, have a dozen people there, spread out, do what you got to do to keep it safe. But we don't all have to isolate completely, and we can get together and watch some sports in a safe way. So that's how we're doing it. Make sure you guys do whatever's best in your situation. It goes your loved ones, your friends and loved ones. We take this thing pretty seriously, but at the same time, we enjoy getting together and in small group and watch this thing on the big screen. So we're gonna enjoy it.
So that's going to wrap us up on today's Cage Rage podcast, Wage Rage. That is ASP, our boxing analyst. I'm Chad Lack, your host. It's great to be back on and start to look for us again. Share this, hit the like button, all that good stuff. You know what to do. Even if you don't, who cares? Just come back and check it out again. We don't care. Hey, thanks, Scotty. It's been great seeing you again. Looking forward to it. Starts at 7:30 p.m. tomorrow night on ESPN, ESPN Plus.
10 o'clock for the main event. You're good to go. 10 o'clock on ESPN. If nothing else, you'll be fine. Don't miss it.
Until next time, namaste.
Great show, brother.
Okay.